Hello, it's Phil and Steve here at Digital DJ Tips, and we're having a lot of fun reviewing the new Pioneer Nexus 2 gear. Now, this is a relatively rare joint review. We are not the same person, and I think it warrants it because this is a big release. You know, this is the gear you're going to see in the clubs for the next half decade, just like the old Nexus gear was doing that job for the last half decade. Yep. So this is big new gear. There are two videos we're doing here, and they are talking points about these new pieces of gear, about the DJM and the CDJ. If you want to read the full review, we've written that up as well, and there's a link underneath each of those videos, so you can get everything you need to know about this gear by reading and watching all those things. Yep. In this video, we're going to look at the CDJ-2000NXS2. Yep. Which doesn't really roll off the tongue, but I'm sure that won't affect sales massively for Pioneer DJ, as they now like to call themselves. And this is Steve's. Like I always say, Steve's used this a lot in the last few weeks, professionally and just here playing. Yeah. This is the stuff that's really stood out for you, isn't it? Yeah. Well, I'm going to cover the points of difference. Really, you know, there's a lot of improvements here. So let's dig in, shall we? Yeah. Let's have a look. So the CDJ, first of all, it's a little bit bigger, and most notably, there's a great big screen in the middle as well. We're going to come on to talk to you about the screen shortly. But let's start here, top left. You now have a flashing USB input there, so it shows you that is the USB that the CDJs are playing off, especially if you've got them linked. That's the one that you're not safe to pull out, basically. That's a useful feature there. And you've got your SD card slot underneath. So as with most modern systems like this, set up properly, you can use one USB drive for the whole thing. Yeah, and as you're the next DJ coming in, if you've got two drives in, you don't want to pull out the wrong one. So nothing new there, but if you weren't aware of that, you know, you don't need to turn up with two separate drives just to use two players anymore. That was the dark old days. Yeah. Okay. So another new feature here is the Hotcues. So the previous model only had 3 Hotcue buttons on it. There are now 4 buttons, and there are actually 2 banks of Hotcues, and they are color-coded as well, backlit. So you can see that's bank 1 there, showing my 1 to 4, and that would show bank 2. Let me load up a track actually that's actually got a fair amount of Hotcues on it. You'll see that it just takes a couple of seconds there for them to load up, and now they're all in. I've got my 2 banks, and I've color-coded these. This is actually a scratch track, so I have purple for sounds. Oh, let's get some volume. And then anything that's vocal I have as yellow. And then in the second bank. So they make sense to me, and you set those up in the Rekordbox software when you're preparing your tracks, and I'm going to show you about that in a little cutaway video that I'm going to do for you. So that's the Hotcues. There's 2 banks, as I said, and here in the button in the middle is your ability to delete one of those if you want to. These play really well. I think one of the issues with the old CDJ-2000 was that I wasn't really feeling very confident to be able to cue juggle on them. It was like you really had to hammer them. These, they play great. They've really got that right this time, so they've definitely made some improvements there. So it's interesting that, because they haven't gone the whole hog and put the kind of 2 banks of 4 pads right underneath the jog wheel like we see in so many controllers. But you're saying that even though, you know, it's a little bit fiddly because you do have to switch from bank to bank and stuff, it's a good advance on the way that things used to be. And also worth mentioning as well, you can actually connect these to an SP1. And so of course you can have lots and lots of Hotcues on your track. You've only got 8 of them accessed here, but if you want to access more, you can do that. Anyone who doesn't know, the SP1's Pioneer's little portable controller, really, which has got a whole set of 8 pads on it, just like you see on DJ controllers. It was originally for Serato, wasn't it? But okay, so you can use that to take control of the Hotcues off one of the CDJs. Yeah. Okay. So next I'm going to show you, moving a bit further down here, we always had the forward and reverse direction paddle, but now there's a kind of temporary part of it, which is slip reverse. I'm just going to put a different track in here, something a bit more housey. So now when I press it into reverse, it just slips, the track carries on playing. So it's like a sensor button. And it will drop back to where the track was playing when I let go of it. And of course I can just put it straight into reverse. That was a feature. Okay, so yeah, that was a two-way paddle, kind of sensor. A lot of us know that as sensor. You know, the sensor function or the slip reverse in one direction and the normal full-on reverse in the other one. Okay. Now moving a bit further over, here these buttons here used to be a lot bigger, but they don't need to be very big. This is where you're selecting
where you're actually pulling your library from. So Rekordbox, USB, SD card here, or good old-fashioned CDs. You can still.
Does anyone use SD cards or CDs? Actually, come to that.
Yeah, well, you know, it's,
tell us in the comments underneath.
They've seen fit to keep them here, so you can still play them. And yeah, so the way that you would actually connect these up, if you wanted to play off one USB, you have USB, and then your other player, you click link, and then you can actually select the tracks from the same USB. In fact, let me just do that. There you go. So I can now select tracks on here that are on this USB stick. That was always the way.
Yeah,
there's nothing new there. But
yeah, it kind of turns it into a big controller, as we said a bit earlier, without the need for 2 USB drives. So
moving a bit further down, this is time mode and auto cue. They were on there before as well. So that's determining whether you're seeing remaining or played time. And auto cue is whether the track will load to the first cue point. Now Quantize has got a new feature here. Now it used to just be only able to quantize to 1 beat. Now you can actually quantize to either an eighth of a beat, a quarter of a beat, half beat, or a full beat. And you'd actually use one of the other new buttons here on the Nexus 2. The shortcut button here can quickly take you to where you can change the quantize value if you want to.
So this is good for kind of being a bit more free-flowing with your juggling and stuff, but still keeping it tight. Very useful when you're synced up to a deck playing something else, for instance, and you want to just large it up a bit. Yeah,
exactly. Safely, yeah. Okay, there's another new button here, which is an instant 4 or 8 beat loop button. Press it once, you get instant 4, and it puts you straight into loop mode as well. So it's 1 click less needed to actually get to a 4 beat loop. If you do it, I'm just going to move it to another part of the track. If you press and hold it, it automatically does an 8 beat loop. And if you press it whilst it's looping, it will cut the loop down by half each time.
Never heard that effect before. So
I know.
Awesome.
It's amazing. Yeah, you need to rewind that part to see how to do that. So that's new, and then slip mode there. That's always been there before as well.
So of course, if you combine slip mode with the loop roll, let's be serious again for a second. Then it's gonna be a bit more useful to you than just looping randomly.
Yeah. Okay. So next, let's take a look at the screen. The lovely big new screen here. It's
touch screen,
7-inch touch screen. Loads of cool new features. It looks great. If I go into browse here, there's new fonts. Everything just seems to fit a lot nicer. It looks a lot more crisp and clean.
More tunes on display there. Eight instead of 6 tracks.
Exactly. And there's another new thing here as well, which is the new phase meter at the top. Now, I'm going to actually use the shortcut button here again to go to the original type of phase meter, which a lot of people may still want to stick with. That's what it used to look like. It was like, it showed the beats in those kind of blocks. So we can go to the new one, which is called Type 2, and now you have a new type of phase meter where you see one deck at the top, the other one below, with the beats and the bar markers, quite similar to Serato.
Serato has a very similar view between its parallel waveforms that shows you just the transients. But actually this is huge, because this is the first time on any CDJ system I can ever think of, in any brand, where you've had parallel waveforms right in front of you.
Yeah.
It's, this is one of the things that digital laptop DJs always say, I like my parallel waveforms. Well, there they are.
There you go. So let's get some tracks playing. And you can see up here, you can't hear the other one at the moment, but you can see they're out of phase, which actually brings us to another feature that the screen has got, which is you can move the track backwards and forwards by 1 beat to help you keep your track in phase. There you go.
So now your bar lines mark up as well as your beat lines.
Yeah.
Telling you you're in phase.
Yeah. So that's a really nice little feature as well. Okay, so I'm going to stop that. We're going to go here to browse, and we're going to have a search for some tracks, and this brings up one of the awesome new features, the Qwerty keyboard. So there you go, just start typing in a couple. I mean, again, people who use DJ software will be used to this kind of search functionality, but it's the first time it's been on the DJM-2000, on the
CDJ-2000.
On the CDJ-2000.
It's confusing, we've got all this good stuff to...
And before you used to have to kind of like fiddle around at the bottom and go letter by letter. Now it's like, it's brilliant. So yeah, just going to go back there and search for my tracks. There's nothing with FC, but you get it. It works really well. So going to go here to a particular playlist. This is called Gig Tonight.
Wonder what that's for.
Oh, that'd be for my gig tonight, yeah. So then moving on to tag list, this is where you can tag tracks and dump them into a playlist whilst you're playing so that you can just remind yourself that you want to play them a bit later. I've got nothing in there at the moment. And info is the info of the track which you've got playing, and also you can click here player 2 so you can see the info of the track on the other deck. So if you want to just check the key very quickly without having to look over there, you've got all of the information here as
And
well.
another 2 decks should you happen to have the money or the DJ booth big enough to have 4 of these things in the middle of it.
They would all be there. Now in the menu button here you've got load previous tracks, but if you hold down menu, this is the utility, and this is where all of the settings are for the 2000. Lots of different preferences, things like the jog indicator, the brightness of the LEDs, the on-air lights. You can protect the deck from letting you load a track in it whilst it's playing. It can stop you from doing that. So that's where all those settings are. They're really easy to get to. But these are some new buttons here over on the right. You've seen me using the back one, so it's pretty obvious to take you back whenever you are. And this is to tag a track. So when you're in a playlist, like I said, you know, this track here, I may want to play that in a little bit later. So I've tagged it, and now if I go to my tag list, it's there. Going back to browse here, under here, this is the track filter button. Now this is really cool.
My favourite bit. This
is really cool.
This is awesome.
We're loving this. So in this particular playlist here, let's have a look. I'm going to press and hold it, and now I've got loads of stuff that I can filter down to find tracks that are either going to be in a related key or a similar BPM or a similar rating of energy level or colours if you colour code your tracks. All of this stuff is searchable in here. Now if you look at the top here, in this particular playlist, I've got 8 tracks in there, and you can see the little filter light at the top.
So you're filtering by plus minus 3 BPMs from 128 BPM?
Could be, but I haven't at the moment because they're not selected.
Oh, okay.
So here you can select, so if I select rating, and I've got a rating of energy level 2 at the moment. Now it's showing me that there are 3 results for that search. So it just keeps it, you know, if you've got a big library, so for example, if I was actually, rather than doing it in just a small playlist, I could be doing it
in your whole library.
In my whole library, which is where you go to track, do the same thing, and now if I just uncheck that, I've got 175 tracks that I'm actually
So this is like a mega smart playlist. This is constantly updating depending on your parameters and how many tracks are in the playlist you're looking at.
Yeah.
So you could say, you know, I want everything in a related key, plus minus X BPM that's got house written in its genre or whatever. So I can go here, so I want all of my energy level 3 rated tracks. I've got 13 of them there now. Now, here's an extra feature that wasn't on the previous ones as well, which I love, and this is from Rekordbox. When you prepare your tracks in Rekordbox, if you really get into the My Tag features in Rekordbox, it's so powerful, it's brilliant. So here you can actually set up all of this stuff how you want it, but I've got genre, so, you know, genres, and I've determined what these genres are. They make sense to me. They might not make sense to anyone else. No point having genres if they don't make sense to you, we always say. And components, so things like vocal samples, spoken vocals, euphoric, uplifting, terrible spelling going on here, which I love. You know, vocal song, acid, whatever it is. Situation, so you could have in there, for example, you know, warm-up set or main set or whatever it is. You could even start marking explicit lyrics and stuff so that you know the tracks to avoid if you're playing to you know, the local church hall or something. So you can select and or criteria. So for example, in components, if I wanted something that was an acid track that also had a vocal song, then I could have and selected and do that. I probably won't have a result for that, but we'll see. I don't know, there was some quite good stuff early on. Oh, there you go, let me just switch it on at the top. No, that gives me a 0. Oh well. There we go. So, yeah, but you get the idea, and you can have or as well. So in genre, for example, I would only want or because I'm saying I would either want a jacking dub or jacking vocal tracks, and there I've got 2 to choose from. So now when I actually come out of that there and press that button, I've got my 2 tracks. There. What if I wanted to just go back quickly to my main library? Having done all that? You just press it again, and then you can see the little filter light goes at the top. So I'm now just in my main library, all of the tracks. But any time I want to re-trigger that filter which I've set, I just press that again, and it will re-filter. And then, as I say, press and hold it, and you can go down and change them. It's actually more powerful than anything I've seen on DJ software, which is saying something considering we're talking about hardware here. Yeah, it's what I love about. It's why I was personally very excited about Rekordbox DJ, because I've always loved
the track management in Rekordbox, but of course it wasn't a standalone piece of DJ software. This is what I love about it. And here as well, you can actually just hit master player. So if the other deck is playing, but I'm in here and I want to find tracks that are related to the track that's playing there, then I can hit master player. It'll pull the details through from the other deck. And now when I'm looking at related keys or BPMs within a certain percentage, it's going to be doing it based on that one. So
good
really
for finding the next track, which is of course what it's
really cool
all
stuff
about, isn't it?
And lastly, this shortcut button, just shortcuts to some, some of the most used features, basically going straight to tracks, to playlist, or to search. The phase meter that I told you about, the Hotcue auto load, so this depends on the settings from Rekordbox or the local player, and the quantized beat value that we just said, and things like the waveform color. If you actually prefer your waveforms blue, because they always were blue, then you can switch to that, or you can have them RGB as well. Also, let's just get my track playing again here. This is a cool feature. I don't know if you can actually see it here, but when the deck is stopped, it says needle search.
So this is the old needle search is gone from the old Nexus players. It used to be just here. It used to be a hardware search. It used to be a touchpad.
And so I can jump around the track. It'll skip around. Wherever I let it go, that's where it drops, and then I can play it from there. As soon as the track is playing, it goes into needle countdown. So this is quite cool. So if I actually put my finger here at the end of this next breakdown, if I just come out of browse, so now it's actually put a little marker there and it's counting down how many bars there are.
A bit like the countdown to Q on Tractor.
Yeah, until that point. So that's quite cool. So it can just help me know how much time I've got until the end of that next breakdown.
I could get your arm behind your back and say, if you mix into my track before that's finished, next DJ, I'm going to have you.
Exactly.
I like it.
Exactly. So they've really come a long way with this. It feels really modern as well, like new kind of design, new fascia on it. It's I think they've got it right with this.
Well, that's what they're going for, aren't they? It's a club standard for the next 5 years. If you're thinking about a DJ system for home, I'd say it doesn't really make sense unless you're making an awful lot of money from your DJing. All money is no object. You don't really need it at home, and there's stuff that will do it for far less cash. But that's not really the market here. The market is something very, very flexible. When we've talked about it already, but you can still put CDs in. You can still just take a USB with a couple of new tunes on and plug it in and play from that. And it works with Rekordbox off USB, and it works with Rekordbox off laptop. But that's a bit tricky to set up at the moment. We spent a long time trying to do it. I certainly wouldn't recommend rolling up at a club and expecting that to work at this stage.
No, it takes a bit of pre-preparation,
So, it's very, very flexible, and it is the Rolls Royce of DJ controllers, of DJ control services with a price tag to suit.
Absolutely.
But that said, it's built enough on the old ones to be seriously worth considering if you're in that kind of market.
Also, I did mention it earlier on, I'm going to keep my promise. Because of the new features on the player, there are new features in the Rekordbox software as well when you're actually doing your track preparation and exporting to the USB. So let's do a little quick video just to show you about those things. Now, because the CDJ-2000NXS2 has some new features and functionality on it, that has to be reflected in the Rekordbox software where you prepare your tracks to play on the CDJ. So I'm just going to quickly talk you through the slight differences in the Rekordbox software. This is version 4.07 that I'm working with here. Most notably, the most important one is now there are 8 Hotcue slots, A through to H. There used to only be 4 here, there used to only be 3 on the actual device. And now, as you've seen, there are now 4 Hotcues on the CDJ, and you can switch the bank to use another 4. So I've got 8 Hotcues set on this particular track here. It's a scratch track with lots of different sounds in it. And I've got my color coding set, which you can do by right-clicking and choosing the color that you want. And that color will be replicated on the device itself when you put your USB in there. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so let's go and have a look at preferences here for CDJ and device and look at some of the settings we have. So you can actually decide whether your waveforms are going to show up as full color, RGB, or just blue, which is the old way, you might be used to that. And also how the waveform will look on the CDJ. You can have half waveform or full waveform. You can select which categories you want to be carried through to the CDJ here, and most importantly, the sorting column. So which categories you want to be able to sort from when you're looking for tracks on the CDJ from your library. So you might actually want genre to be in there, so you can go here, genre, move it over to the right, and you can move it up or down in the level of importance to you there if you want. I'm going to leave genre out because I don't use it. column. This lets you select what is going to be displayed next to the track name on the CDJ. So you can have the BPM next to the track, or the key next to the track, or your rating next to the track, whatever you want, but this is where you select it. And here in My Settings, you've got lots of stuff you can configure here. So the play mode is single or continuous. So with single, it will just play the currently playing track and it will end at the end. It won't play the next track in the playlist, which it will do if it's in continue. Eject Load Lock. This protects the deck whilst it's playing from you loading another track onto it, which can be pretty embarrassing, but you can leave that unlocked if you want. Now, quantize beat value, this is something new. Before, the quantize on the CDJ-2000s was only 1 beat, that was it. Quantize on was 1 beat, quantize off was up to you. Now you can actually have half beat, quarter beat, or 8 beat, and this you can set to be the default when you put your USB into the CDJ, and I'm going to go with quarter beat. With the Hotcue auto load, I'm going to go with Rekordbox settings, that's dependent on the track. And I'm going to switch on the colours for the Hotcues as well, because I like to use those as I've just shown you. Slip flashing, so this is where the CDJ will flash when it's in slip mode. You can switch that on or off. On-air display, showing whether the CDJ is live or not. You can switch that on or off. You can change your jog brightness, the jog indicator on or off, and also the disc slot illumination. So that's for the CD disc at the front. You can switch that off, dark or bright. You can select your language, the brightness of all the buttons, the time mode on the track, with either elapsed time or remaining time. The auto cue can be on or off there. And jog mode, you can set whether you want CD mode, which is where the whole platter just acts as a nudge, or vinyl, which means that when you hit the top of the platter, you grab the track and you can scratch with it, and the side of the jog mode becomes the nudge function. Tempo range, you can set your favoured tempo range for the tempo fader there, and you can decide here whether you want master tempo to be on or off by default, and quantize on or off by default as well, and also with sync. And then here with the phase meters, there are now 2 phase meters to choose from, the original kind of 4-bar block version, and also the new one, which is beats and bars, which looks much more like kind of typical DJ software like Traktor and Serato. You might prefer that one, so you can select that as the default there as well. And here with Hotcue, if you have this selected, this means that when you load your track in, it's going to import all of the Hotcues as well into the CDJ, so they're all ready for you to use. And here with device, the library, if you're using the CDJ, you'll have this set to CDJ, but also you've got some options here if you've got some other devices. It's a slightly different way of exporting the library, so you'll need to select that depending on whether it's an R1 or an MEP 4000. So there you go. So once you've got those all set, and then you actually put your tracks onto your USB, when you put that USB into the CDJ, you can select yes for importing My Settings. And no matter how the previous DJ had the CDJ set up, whatever configuration he or she had, it doesn't matter, yours are going to overwrite it, and each time you rock up to any set of CDJ-2000NXS2s, it's going to be your settings.
So there you have it. Don't say we don't give you stuff in depth when it really, really warrants it. That's been our review of the Pioneer CDJ-2000NXS2. Thank you very much for spending all that time getting to grips with all those minutiae of the...
It was a total pleasure.
Thank you, Steve.